pictures of me when I'm drinking water. Okay, so the question I always get, I'm sorry, it is hot, I'll make this brief, is, where do you get the ideas for your books, blah, 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 I got the idea store, I don't know where it is, blah, blah. I've been writing books since I was 7. First book that I wrote was about, it was actually about a dog, Penny the puppy. It hasn't been published.
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
Well, it's a dog theme. But the thing is, in my house, like, if you told stories in an amusing way, maybe you've caught on to this, people would pay attention to you. But the problem with that is when you go to school, you're not graded on funniness. Have any of you noticed that? Yes. That is not part of the SATs. I think that sucks. Right? They should have like a funny part of the SATs. Thank you. So that I did not do very well on the SATs. What is the highest score you can get on the SATs now? 2,400? There seems to be a disagreement here. It used to be 1,600, you could get 800 and 800. I got 400 on the math part, which I think is what you get if you write your name. And my dad taught math at college that I went, So that was not good. There was a lot of crying at my house. And I did not get into any college I applied to except the one where my dad taught, which was like a pity, it was a pity entrance admission. And, but I was very creative. Obviously, I wrote all the time, loved to write stories and draw. I love to draw. And if you are familiar at all with megcabot.com, if you've been there, I don't know, in the past few months, you might have noticed that there was a video on there about my new book, Abandoned, which is about a girl who dies. She dies and then she gets resuscitated. That happens sometimes. While she's dead, she has an out-of-body experience, which happens sometimes too. And while she's having this experience, she visits a place. It's not heaven, just to let you know, and it's not hell, it's the underworld. When I was in school, one of the things that I did pay attention to was a Greek myth called the myth of Persephone. And thank you, whoever said that. Persephone, the reason I think I was so interested in this myth is because Persephone was a girl whose mom was a goddess, and she lived in Olympus, but she wouldn't let Persephone hang out in Olympus because the gods were kind of naughty. Has anyone ever noticed that? All the girls who came into contact with the gods got turned into like trees or animals, or nothing good really happened to them. So her mom didn't really want her to hang out in Olympus, and Persephone was kind of an outsider, and I kind of felt like an outsider too when I was in high school. Not just because of the math thing, but also because I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't really good at anything except drawing little pictures of like Persephone and making up stories. And so I think I really latched on to this myth, and I always drew little pictures of it, and I always thought, someday I'd really like to write a book about, a girl who was kind of like me, like Persephone. Maybe who got to go to a place where she did feel like she fit in. And I think that where Persephone did feel like she fit in was the world of the dead. Because who wouldn't want to go away from a place where people are expecting so much from you? Which for me was high school. And maybe the world of the living, I don't know. I did graduate from high school, and I did graduate from college, and I moved to New York, and I did try to pursue a career as an illustrator, because I really felt like that was something that I could do, but something that people weren't going to reject me for, because I felt like if I showed people my stories, they might criticize them in a way that would really hurt my feelings, because I love to write so much. And I felt that like the writing thing meant so much to me. If somebody criticized it, it would just break me, and I would just be so crushed. Whereas if they criticized my drawings, they didn't really care. A lot of people criticize my drawings. They're like, "This is a drawing of a unicorn." And I was like, "Yeah, it is." The art world is very cruel. My fellow students were going on to like stuff turkeys and dress them up in neat coats, and they would get A's. My unicorn drawings, get A's. Why? Why a turkey with a mink coat? Wait a second, okay, we'll leave that one on the side. Libby gets it. Thank you, Libby. Okay. Then, wait, I'm gonna bring the ring down a minute. Stop it, Libby. Wait, my dad died. Yeah, I know, right? The guy who said math was important, because it is. And I realized that everything can just change in the blink of an eye, okay? And I realized the most important thing in life is not that somebody sends you a note saying that a story that you wrote is bad. I mean, that hurts, but not as much as somebody that you love dying. So when I got back from the funeral, I started sending my stories out because I realized I didn't care if somebody didn't like my story. I realized if there's something you want to do, you have to get out there and start trying to live your life and do what's important. And I can tell you the day that I got the first letter from a publisher rejecting my story, which I did every day for like 3 years after that, I didn't really care. Because I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep trying because at least I'm doing what I love. And I did. Until the day I got the phone call from my mom telling me that she was dating that art teacher who didn't like my unicorn drawing. I was like, that's so great, Mom, you're dating. It's fantastic. I started writing a book about a girl whose mom was dating her teacher and how deeply unhappy she was about that, because that's gross. Your mom being with one of your teachers. And that book turned into something called Princess Diaries, which some of you might have read. Thank you. Creativity to throw in a big fictional part, which is the princess part. And those are books that got published. And then after that, other things started getting published. And now my new book is about a girl who has died and been resuscitated. And she's come back from the underworld, a place where maybe she feels like she belongs. But maybe she doesn't. And there's a guy who's from that world who may or may not be Lord of the Underworld. And maybe he wants her to come back and be with him. Which, when I was in high school, I would have thought was fantastic. She doesn't so much, because it's a very dark place. And there's people dying, and it's not good for her. I also have a new book out. It's got some vampires in it. They don't sparkle. I don't want to offend anybody. There are some bad vampires. In closing, before I hand the mic to Libba, I just want to do my imitation. Kristen Stewart. In the Breaking Dawn trailer, and she realizes there's something going on in her story. This is in no way an offense to Kristen Stewart because I love her and I love Twilight movies.